Hey everyone, it's Marla at Twinstrology. I wanted to connect with you guys because I had some information given to me regarding the rebirth of the divine masculine. Before I get started though, I just want to say take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Okay, everyone's on their own journey right now, and the energy is really strong for people to go within and get in touch with their own heart and soul and what resonates with them. So if what I offer resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, then leave it. All right, so this morning, most of the day actually, I was visited by Cernunnos. And if those of you who don't know him, this is an image of him here. He's the god of the forest, of animals, especially male animals and stags. He's often shown with these big antlers, and he's the god of hunting. And of course, the antlers represent, masculine power, virility, sexuality. Cernunnos is a really popular deity in paganism and witchcraft. He's also known as the horned god. And so what he came to tell me is that this energy that he represents is the current energy that's being experienced by the divine masculine. So they're getting a surge of virility. This has been happening since Samhain or Halloween, and shortly after that we had a Taurus full moon. It was on November 4th at 11 degrees Taurus. And by the way, the symbol for Taurus is a bull, which is also a symbol of male virility. And so Cernunnos told me that the divine masculine, they're getting in touch with their primal masculine energy right now, which is such a potent, highly charged energy, and it's revitalizing them, and it's bringing them back to life, and they're beginning to find passion again, and their sexual energy is reawakening. Cernunnos is often pictured with a snake. Here's another image of him, and you can see he's got a snake wrapped around his arm. It's a horned snake, which is often how it's represented. And most of you probably know that snakes are associated with the Kundalini energy. So the divine masculine is going through a powerful Kundalini surge right now as part of this revitalization for them. And it's clearing out a lot of their chakras, especially their lower chakras. And this is allowing them to feel more balanced and grounded and just safe. They don't have to focus so much on just feeling like they need to survive right now. And this energy is purifying them of their past sexual partners, and it's helping them get into a healthier expression of their sexuality, because we know that the masculine sexual energy has been very distorted. But the divine masculine has already gone, not the divine masculine, the divine feminine has already gone through this, of course. At least if you've known your twin flame for any amount of time, you've had a Kundalini awakening, and you've gone through this revitalization, and you've gone through the sexual healing and the cleansing of the chakras and the cleansing of the past sexual partner. So what they're going through is nothing that the divine feminine hasn't already gone through. If as a divine feminine you tap into your masculine energy right now, you're probably going to feel them a lot more powerful than they were a few months ago. And some of them, some of them are beginning to tap into their past lives too. And so something else that Cernunnos told me was that the cycle for a lot of the divine masculine is connected to The pagan cycle, known as the Wheel of Life. And this is really the journey of the god from death to rebirth and back. It's a continuous cycle. And like I said, many pagans and Wiccans celebrate Cernunnos as their prime deity. But of course, it's up to each person to pick whichever deity they want. So, like Cernunnos' journey, we're going to use him as an example, the divine masculine are going through a similar journey. So as I mentioned, this started around Samhain and the full moon in Taurus. And this was when the masculine energy went into the underworld. And at that full moon, don't forget the sun was in Scorpio and Jupiter had just gone into Scorpio. So right now, many of them are in their dying stage. And some are literally going through a dark night of the soul. And the Scorpio energy is teaching them how to let go. A lot of them they're not fighting the process anymore. They are learning to let go. They're not struggling against it. I feel a lot of them are kind of worn out and beat down, and they're just like, okay, I'll do it. Like, what do you want from me? They're going through that purification process I mentioned as the Kundalini energy brings things up. And they're actually doing a lot of forgiveness right now, especially forgiveness of themselves, because they have a lot of guilt and shame that's been blocking them. And, this has to do with the lower chakras, I think the root chakra. And so this is another thing that they're working on. And they're learning how to follow their heart. But they have to get these other things kind of situated within themselves so that they can get more in touch with their heart. So even though they're in the underworld, they're actually coming back to life. And up till now, they've been sleepwalking through life most of the time, but they're waking up now. And they're really wanting to be free, wanting to just be free of everything. And they're wanting to express themselves. And they're wanting to just be themselves, to become authentic. They're wanting to reconnect with the feminine energy. But I feel many of them, they want to be at their best, or they want to feel powerful. Maybe they're not quite ready yet. Of course, the divine feminine loves them unconditionally, no matter what. And they're being shown their destiny. And they're ready to follow it, or at least surrender to what's being asked of them. And like I said, recognizing that who they thought they were was not really them. Like I mentioned earlier, the divine feminine has already gone through this. They've been through that stage of revitalization and getting more in touch with their soul and becoming more authentic. So the masculine is following that. The next big festival in the cycle of the year is Yule, or the winter solstice. And this is the shortest day of the year. We started this cycle at Mabon, or the fall equinox. This was when the day and night were equal. We get to Yule, it's the shortest day of the year. But this is when now the days get longer. So light is growing. This festival, we celebrate the light winning. And this is where the masculine energy are going to be reborn, so to speak, because this is where the god is reborn. But it's still winter time. And so after giving birth the goddess is still slumbering. And so the two of them are resting together. And the god is still immature, right? He's born as a baby. So he's still growing and learning. And he's learning how to trust more and developing his power. He's still going through purification. I feel around this time the masculine energy are going to become even more sensitive to any negative energy that's around them. You know, as you awaken and you begin to feel things more, you get to see things in new perspective, and the things that didn't bother you in the past begin to bother you, and negative energy begins to bother you. And it's similar actually to a baby. Remember, the god is born as a baby, and babies are completely clear when they're born. They have not been programmed by anything, and babies just go by their senses and people's energy. Like they know their mother and father by their energy and their sense of smell. And so I kind of feel like that energy is going to be in effect for the masculines. You know, he's looking to see what is not good for him that he's got around him. And he's going to be looking for balance and learning more about love. And he will get more in touch with his heart at this time. And in fact, everyone is going to be going through a heart expansion around this time. And astrologically, besides the winter solstice, this is coinciding with Saturn going into Capricorn, which happens on the 19th. Saturn and the Sun are going to be conjunct at the beginning of Capricorn, and Black Moon Lilith is going to be mixed in there too. And Black Moon Lilith is all about becoming authentic. The next festival is Imbolc. I do want to mention though real quick that right away at the start of the new year, January 1st, we have a full moon in Cancer, and that's going to be a 1/1/11 day. 2018 is an 11 year. And so that fact alone, that it's an 11 year coming up, is going to be really big as far as bringing changes, not just to twin flames, but changes to everyone and balancing and awakening energies. So Imbolc is on, it's celebrated on February Eve, so like the beginning of the evening of January 31st. And this is when we have a full moon lunar eclipse at 11 degrees of Leo. So if we're thinking of the astrological wheel, when we started this, you know, when we were at Samhain, we were at 11 degrees Taurus. Now we're at 11 degrees Leo. So we've moved a quarter of the circle. This festival has to do with the goddess Bridget. And Bridget is a goddess of the sacred fire. Her energy is very similar to Vesta. She had a sacred fire in Kildare, for example. And for hundreds of years, this fire was tended by 19 priestesses. And even when she became canonized as a saint, she had 19 nuns looking after this fire. Sounds very, very similar to Vesta, right? And Vesta is the patron goddess of twins to me. So I'm feeling a correlation there. So at Imbolc, spring is returning. And the name Imbolc has to do with, it means in milk, and it has to do with the ewes having their milk come in for their lambs. And the god is growing into a child here. He's doing a lot of healing. Okay, the goddess Bridget is associated with healing, inspiration, passion, fertility. So the divine masculine, they're healing, they're growing stronger, they're learning how to put themselves first in a healthy way. They're going deeper into surrender. This could be a time where many are deciding to disconnect from any other partners that they may have, and connect more, I feel, with the divine feminine in some way. They're wanting to be with the divine feminine more. So, I mean, depending on each one's situation, even if it's just connecting energetically. And so everyone is asked to have more faith and persistence around this time. Of course, this is a time that has to do with hope. We're beginning to get the energies of spring coming in and the energies of rebirth. But for the divine masculine, if there are some getting rid of karmic partners at this time, it's going to be challenging energy for them. The next festival is Ostara, and this represents the spring equinox. So again, we're back to equal days and nights. This is when the sun enters into Aries. And in 2018, it's going to be on March 20th. This is a time when the masculine and feminine are going to be in balance. And of course, at the spring equinox, we're celebrating rebirth, resurrection, manifestation. And here, the god is reaching manhood, and he's ready to start taking responsibility for his life. And he's ready to acknowledge his power and start to take action in the world. He's beginning to become wise, getting in touch with his inner wisdom. And I also feel like the divine masculine at this time, they're going to be doing a lot of healing around the masculine energy, perhaps healing energy with their father, in order for them to more come into balance with their inner masculine and feminine energy. And then this brings us up to Beltane, or May Day. And this is the wedding feast of the god and goddess, right? The god has reached maturity and he's won the hand of the goddess. This is celebrated on May 1st. And just before that, there's going to be a full moon on April 29th at 9 degrees Scorpio. So again, if we look at the astrological wheel, we're at the halfway point. We started at 11 degrees Taurus, and now we're pretty much at 11 degrees Scorpio. On the day of Beltane, we will be at 11 degrees, I believe, or 10 degrees. Actually, the sun will be in Taurus. Because when we started the journey, even though it was a full moon in Taurus, the sun was in Scorpio, the moon was in Taurus. Now the full moon's in Scorpio, the sun is in Taurus, the moon is in Scorpio. So this represents, half of the year, half of the cycle. The sun is going to be squaring the nodes at this time as well, which is what we had when we started this journey and the god died. And it was shortly after that full moon that the sun was squaring the nodes. So this is important because this is when the god and goddess get married. And this is when they celebrate their sacred marriage, their sacred union. They're ready to come together and to create new life. And of course, the moon is going to be in Scorpio. This is the sign of intimate relationships, intimate partnerships, and sexuality. Traditionally, around this time, people would go what was called a maying, and they were free to enact the rite of sacred marriage with whoever they choose, to reenact the union of the god and the goddess. Even people that were married could kind of take the day off and celebrate. This was a huge time of fertility. So you can imagine that this is going to be a pretty powerful time for twin flames, celebrating the sacred union. So for some, it could be an inner union, For others, it could be actual coming into union, or even if you're not coming into union, some developments. And there's been readings that I've been doing for people that, I am getting shown that spring is going to be a powerful time. So it's still important, though, no matter what the masculine's going through, if you're the primary feminine energy, you've got to focus on yourself. The masculine is going to be going through a lot of changes, and they're going to need you to support them. They're going to need you to stay grounded, to stay focused, not to come up with a bunch of expectations, but really come into your own goddess energy, your own empowerment. Continue to focus on your own journey while, energetically supporting them, or however they're asking you to support them. But really important, I feel, for the divine feminine at this time to stay balanced, to be a support for the masculine. Because it's not going to be an easy journey. And if you're not imbalanced, your union is not going to stay together anyways. Because the energy won't work, right? Primarily, this is an energetic union. And your energies have to be in alignment. So, continue to focus on yourself. Follow your own path. Don't set up a lot of expectations. Stay in the now moment. Stay grounded. Take it one step at a time. The masculine at this time, I feel, is going to be tested around issues of self-love and integrating more of their shadow and continuing to embrace their power and authenticity. This is a popular time for people to be hand-fasted on this day because it's, the wedding feast of the god and goddess. So I don't really want to go any further than Beltane right now. The next festival after this would be the summer solstice, though. But shortly after Beltane, on May 12th, Mars enters his shadow period. Yeah, we're having a Mars retrograde next year, guys. And he's going retrograde on June 26th, just after the summer solstice. And so all the work that the masculine energy is doing is going to be integrated and I'll just leave it at integrated within them during this Mars retrograde. So we'll talk more about these things as we get closer and what they're going to mean. There's a lot of astrological things obviously happening all through this. There's another eclipse that I didn't talk about. Uranus is going to be going direct, and then Uranus will be moving into Taurus after Beltane. So there'll be plenty of shifts. So like I said, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And thank you for listening. As always, thank you for your support. And if you'd like to have a personal reading with me, you can visit my website, which is twinstrology.com. Thanks, guys. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.